Hi, how are you? I hope that you all are fine. Today in this video, I am going to tell you about NATO. Why the NATO is important now and today particularly because 77 years ago on this day, today is 5th of April. On 4th of April, this great treaty was signed. What is the treaty? North Atlantic Treaty was signed on April 4, 1949. So 77 years ago, this organization was set up, and this is the since then for the last 77 years there was a what is said comprehensive relationship, and there was a close relationship among all the countries. At present, it has 32 members. 32 members, but this is the first time a prominent member or the founding member, the United States of America, failed to get the approval and assistance from NATO members. This is the significance of global politics, because Donald Trump has failed to achieve cooperation from his NATO alliances. Okay, so I would say that let me share with you that how many countries are the members of NATO at first. So at present, I told you that there are 32 countries who are the members of NATO. What are those? Alphabetically, let me share with you: Albania, Belgium, Canada, Bulgaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, the Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. So what is the purpose of NATO? The purpose of NATO is to safeguard the freedom and security of all its members. It does this through political and military means. The heart of NATO is expressed in Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, in which the signatory members agree that, quote, an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, unquote. The alliance currently has 32 members. Okay, so when did the US join the NATO? The United States of America in 1949, as one of the 12 founding members, joined the NATO. So at the time, the other, except the United States of America, at the time or at initial period, there were other 11 members were Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and the United Kingdom. Let me share with you a small historical background of NATO. Now, you all know that the Second World War devastated the world economically, and its infrastructure has also been distracted by the warring countries. So this was one of the most cumbersome wars in the world. So this has destroyed almost and weakened Europe, mostly Europe. Okay, so after the World War in 1945, Western Europe was economically exhausted and militarily weak. The Western allies had rapidly and drastically reduced their armies at the end of the war, and newly powerful communist parties had arisen in France and Italy. By contrast, the Soviet Union had emerged from the war with the armies dominating all the states of Central and Eastern Europe, and by 1948, communists under Moscow's sponsorship had consolidated their control of the government of those countries and suppressed all non-communist political activities. So what became known to Iron Curtain, a term popularized by the then British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, had descended over Central and Eastern Europe. Further, wartime cooperation between the Western Allies and Soviets had completely broken down. Each side was organizing its own sector of occupying Germany so that two German states would emerge, a democratic one in the west and a communist one in the east. In 1948, the United States launched the Marshall Plan, which infused massive amounts of economic aid to the countries of Western and Southern Europe on the condition that they cooperate with each other and engage in joint plannings to hasten the United Kingdom, France, and the Low Countries, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and concluded a collective defense agreement called the Western European Union. It was soon recognized, however, that a more formidable alliance would be required to provide an adequate military counterweight to the Soviets. By this time, Britain, Canada, and the United States had already engaged in secret exploratory talks on security arrangements that would serve as an alternative to the United Nations, which was becoming paralyzed by the rapid emerging Cold War. In March 1948, following a virtual communist coup d'etat in Czechoslovakia in February, the three governments, what are the three governments? Britain, Canada, and the United States of America, began discussions on a multilateral collective defense scheme that would enhance Western security and promote democratic values. These discussions were eventually joined by France, the Low Countries, and Norway, and in April 1949 resulted in the North Atlantic Treaty. What is the type of this organization? Spurred by the North Korean invasion of the South in July 1950, the United States took steps to demonstrate that it would resist any Soviet military expansion or pressures in Europe. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the leader of the Allied forces in Western Europe in World War II, was named Supreme Allied Commander Europe. Remember, Supreme Allied Commander Europe, that is in short form SACEUR, by the North Atlantic Council, that is NATO's governing body. So NATO's governing body is North Atlantic Council. Okay, so NAC. So in December 1915, he was followed as SACEUR by a succession of American generals. The North Atlantic Council, which was established soon after the treaty came into effect, is composed of ministerial representatives of the member states who met at least twice a year. At other times, the Council, chaired by the NATO Secretary General, remains in permanent session at the ambassadorial level, just as the position of SACEUR has always been held by an American. The Secretary Generalship has always been held by an European. NATO military organization encompasses a complete system of commands for possible wartime use. The military committee, consisting of representatives of military chiefs of staff of the member states, subsumes two strategic commands: Allied Command of Operations ACO and Allied Command Transformation ACT. ACO is headed by the SACEUR and located at Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe SHAPE in Castille, Belgium. ACT is headquartered in Norfolk, Virginia, US. During the alliance's first 20 years, more than $3 billion worth of infrastructure for NATO forces, bases, airfields and pipelines, communications networks, depots was jointly planned, financed and built with about one-third of the funding from the United States. NATO's funding generally is not used for the procurement of military equipment, which is provided by the member states, though the NATO airborne early warring force, a fleet of radar being aircraft designed to protect against a surprise low-flying attack, was funded jointly. Now, I would share with you what are the rules of NATO. Okay, NATO rules are governed by the 1949 North Atlantic Treaty, Washington, that is also sometimes called someone by Washington Treaty, which hinges on collective defense, Article 5, where it is said that an attack on one member, an attack on one member is considered an attack on all. An attack on one member is considered an attack on all. Decisions are made by consensus, ensuring all 32 members agree. It is not like Security Council, where veto powers have been given to only 5, the permanent 5, and always there is a veto. Okay, so ensuring all 32 members agree. Key rules include mandatory peaceful resolution, voluntary member obligations, and a requirement to invest 2% of GDP on defense. Remember, 2% of GDP will have to be spent by each member country in defense sector. Okay, fundamental rules and principles. What are the fundamental rules and principles of NATO? Article 5 within bracket, and say, remember, this is called collective defense, right? The cornerstone of NATO is that if a NATO ally is the victim of an armed attack, each and every other member of the alliance will consider this act as violence, as an armed attack against all members, and will take the actions it deems necessary to assist the ally attacked. Consensus decision making. All decisions in NATO are made by consensus, meaning all member nations agree before an action is taken. Article 4, consultation. Members can bring any issue, especially regarding security, to the table for discussion whenever their territorial integrity, political independence, or scrutiny is threatened. Article 10, membership rules. Membership is open to any European state that can further the principles of the treaty and contribute to the security of the North Atlantic area. Defense spending rule, I told earlier also that while not in the original treaty, modern NATO guidelines require members to pledge at least 2% of their annual GDP to defense spending on to ensure collective readiness. Key aspects of the treaty. Purpose. The alliance is committed to the peaceful resolution of disputes. Article 1. Article 1 says that the alliance is committed to the peaceful resolution of disputes. Good. So, why being a founding member, the United States did not solve the Iran crisis through peaceful resolution? What did it hinder? Why did it attack first Iran? The question will arise, right? Definitely the scholars will raise the question, and the United States of America will have to give response, will have to give feedback. Why? What was the reason behind your attack, unilateral attack against Iran without informing the NATO countries, right? So, and this is the first time NATO failed, or the United States of America failed to get the assistance and cooperation from his NATO alliances, right? So, Operation Control NATO operates as an intergovernmental alliance, meaning it is not a supranational organization, and decisions are voluntary based on the sovereign will of its members. Okay. Now, So this is the thing that NATO believes in the commitment to democracy and values. Members are bound by the shared values of individual liberty, human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Collective defense, Article 5, it has been said, the principle that an armed attack against one member is considered the attack against all, requiring a united response. So, Transatlantic Security Link, a unique forum for security consultation and cooperation between North America and Europe, ensuring shared security interests and crisis management and prevention beyond defense. NATO focuses on preventing crisis and managing conflicts through dialogue, partnership, and military cooperation. So, these are the aims and objectives of NATO. So, I hope that I have been able to tell you in brief about the purpose of its setting up, the main rules and regulations of NATO, and I hope that you understood this video. If you like this video, you will share it with your friends, colleagues, and like it, and definitely share it with your friends. With this, I would like to conclude here. Thank you very much.